In the heart of northeastern America lies a city that once gave birth to a nation, Philadelphia. It's a place immortalized in history, where the Declaration of Independence was signed and the Liberty Bell became a symbol of freedom. Tourists walk its cobblestone streets, admire the grandeur of Independence Hall, and marvel at the towering skyscrapers that symbolize progress. Yet, behind the glow of history and the bustle of Reading Terminal Market, beyond the polished image of downtown, there is a side of Philadelphia rarely seen. It hides in narrow alleyways, under bridges, and in the forgotten corners of city parks. Here, thousands of people drift through life without a home, without certainty, and sometimes without even a name. Over 4,000 people in Philadelphia are homeless. Of that number, roughly 1,200 sleep directly on the streets, not in shelters or emergency facilities, but on sidewalks, benches, and subway grates. And that's just what can be counted. Many more live in what's called hidden homelessness, constantly moving between couches, cars, or abandoned buildings. Homelessness in Philadelphia isn't just a statistic, it's a deep wound in the city's story. These individuals are part of its history, its struggles, and its future. They come from all walks of life: factory workers whose jobs vanished, war veterans carrying invisible scars, LGBTQ+ youth kicked out of their homes, single mothers priced out of housing, and children who never had a fair start. None of them ever dreamed they'd end up here. But a perfect storm of rising rents, stagnant wages, a lack of affordable housing, untreated mental health conditions, and a devastating opioid crisis has turned Philadelphia into one of America's homelessness epicenters. In this city, housing has become a luxury rather than a right. When a safe, stable home is out of reach, losing everything can happen faster than most people realize. Imagine waking up each morning without a roof overhead, without an alarm clock, without hot coffee or even a bathroom, just the cold sky above. For those on Philadelphia's streets, daily life isn't about schedules or routines. It's about survival. A typical morning might start with a search for a safe place to use the restroom, maybe a library, maybe a fast food restaurant if someone behind the counter shows kindness. Lunch might come from a soup kitchen, a church giveaway, or the hope of a stranger's generosity. Every step carries risk. Possessions can be stolen, police encounters can be hostile, and the constant stares, or worse, indifference, from passers-by serve as daily reminders of their invisibility. Sleep offers little rest. Nights are spent on cardboard mats, in subway tunnels, or under thin blankets in city parks. In the winter, cold air can be deadly. In the summer, dehydration is a constant threat. Along with shelter, dignity and safety are also stripped away. Many try to hold on to pieces of their old lives, showering in shelters, combing their hair, keeping appearances. But when the world avoids eye contact, treating you like you don't exist, that dignity becomes harder to protect. We often talk about the homeless as though they share one face, one story. But in reality, there are thousands of unique faces and stories scattered across Philadelphia streets. Their lives move slowly, sometimes stuck in place, while the city rushes past. And what cuts deepest isn't hunger, cold, or exhaustion, it's being unseen. Philadelphia isn't ignoring the crisis entirely. Across the city, emergency shelters have opened their doors to provide temporary refuge. Hundreds of beds are filled every night, but still, countless people are forced to sleep outside due to limited capacity. Some shelters have long lines and strict entry rules: arrive early, bring no pets, wake up at dawn, and leave as soon as the sun rises. For many, these conditions are safer than the streets. For others, they feel dehumanizing, pushing them back outdoors despite the danger. Behind this patchwork system of aid are thousands of dedicated social workers and volunteers. They patrol alleys, handing out food, blankets, and conversation. They remember names that others have forgotten. Project Home, a pillar of hope in Philadelphia since 1989, champions a philosophy called Housing First, believing that the first step in solving homelessness is to provide a safe place to live before tackling addiction, therapy, or employment. Broad Street Ministry opens its doors to anyone seeking a hot meal, a shower, or simply a moment of kindness. Yet, despite these efforts, the system struggles against overwhelming odds, shrinking budgets, slow bureaucracy, and deeply rooted stigma. Many slip through the cracks. Some are turned away for having pets they refuse to abandon. Others are rejected because they don't meet strict definitions of chronic homelessness. Mental illness often goes untreated because without an address or ID, access to therapy and medication is nearly impossible. On paper, help exists. In reality, it is out of reach for far too many. In Philadelphia's Kensington neighborhood, the crisis takes an even darker turn. Known as Ground Zero for America's opioid epidemic, its sidewalks are littered with syringes. People huddle in alleyways, bent over from addiction, their lives consumed by a dangerous cycle. Many here are not just homeless but also trapped in the grip of powerful narcotics, often prescribed to them in the past for legitimate pain. Breaking free is nearly impossible without intervention, yet help often comes too late. Philadelphia's mental health system, like many across the country, is overwhelmed. With too few doctors, too little funding, and endless waiting lists, many of the city's most vulnerable are left to fend for themselves. Those suffering from schizophrenia, PTSD, severe depression, and bipolar disorder walk the streets untreated, their pain invisible yet undeniable. Drugs, though dangerous, become a temporary escape. Addiction and mental illness don't cause homelessness on their own, but they create a cycle that is nearly impossible to escape. And when someone loses control of their mind, society is quick to judge but slow to help. The truth is, no one chooses this life. No child dreams of growing up to sleep on a park bench. No teenager aspires to be addicted to opioids. These are people failed by a system designed to protect them. What they need isn't pity, it's opportunity. They need rehabilitation, therapy, housing, and above all, compassion. Amid the darkness, hope still flickers. Organizations like Project Home, Pathways to Housing PA, and Valley Youth House are proving that solutions are possible. They embrace housing first, offering permanent housing as the foundation of recovery. In buildings like Francis House of Peace, once homeless individuals now live in small apartments with keys, mailboxes, and dignity. From these homes, recovery begins, addiction is treated, therapy becomes accessible, and jobs are found. Broad Street Ministry has pioneered a different kind of outreach, where people are called by their names, treated as individuals, and given a place to feel human again. Mobile clinics bring doctors and counselors to city sidewalks, meeting people where they are. Job training programs, small businesses owned by former homeless individuals, and transitional communities are all reshaping lives, proving that real change is possible when people are seen, heard, and valued. But the city needs more than a few dedicated organizations. It needs a shift in mindset. The answer to homelessness isn't simply handing out tents or food. It's about creating systems of dignity, opportunity, and fairness. It's about dismantling stigma and recognizing that homelessness is not a reflection of laziness but of inequality. Along the streets of Philadelphia, from the bustling downtown blocks to the hidden corners of Kensington, there are thousands of stories that rarely make the headlines. These stories are real, and they are part of us. Homelessness is more than a loss of shelter, it is a mirror reflecting the cracks in our society, showing us how easily one life can unravel. We often ask, why don't they just get a job, or isn't there help available? But perhaps the better question is, how can we live comfortably knowing so many people sleep on the pavement tonight? Because those on the streets are not other people. They could be us, or someone we know, a neighbor, a friend, a coworker, one life crisis away from losing everything. The distance between having a home and not having one is often just a single tragedy. So, what can we do? We can start by truly seeing them, not as problems, not as nuisances, but as human beings with stories, struggles, and dreams. We can vote for policies that promote affordable housing, mental health care, and economic opportunity. We can choose empathy over judgment. Even small acts of compassion, a greeting, a warm meal, a conversation, can ripple into lasting change. Cities are not defined by their skyscrapers or historic landmarks. The true measure of a city's strength is how it treats its most vulnerable residents. Philadelphia has always been a symbol of freedom. Perhaps now it can become a beacon of hope, showing that home is more than just four walls and a roof. It's a place where a person feels safe, valued, and worthy of life. And until every person in this city has that, our work is not done.